Welcome to Mastering the Numbers, your go-to podcast for a deep dive into the world of business and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Joe Mallo. Join me as I sit down with successful business owners to uncover their journeys, learnings, successes, and future plans. From market trends to personal stories of triumph, Mastering the Numbers delivers invaluable insights to fuel your own entrepreneurial spirit. So grab a seat and get ready to be inspired.
All right, welcome back everyone to Mastering the Numbers. I am Joe Mallo with the Lead Edge Consulting Group. We're powered by Focal Point Business and Executive Coaching. My guest today is Kevin Ramsier, founder managing partner with SIER Capital Partners. Hey Kevin, thanks for taking time to sit down with me and go through this interview series.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about your firm, SIER Capital Partners?
Sure. SIER Capital Partners is a private equity firm. We invest capital into businesses that do between 3 million of EBITDA all the way up to 15 million of EBITDA. Do a handful of transactions a year, and we look for companies that are led by great management teams that are in industries that have some tailwinds that are growing.
Right. Well, we've known each other for quite some time at this
Yeah.
point. But how did you get started in the private equity side of the business?
Yeah, so I had a long career in the asset management space. Was there and figured, look, I want to own something and operate something. So I bought a business with a partner. We grew that business across the country, ended up selling it, and took those proceeds and said, I'd like to do more of this and support people that are like me, that might be in corporate America, that want to go own something. How can you back those people? How can you find the right people and back them in the right opportunity? So it really started out of having some success with my own business, and then understanding what it took to make a successful business so that we can help and coach people along the way after we invest in them.
How many businesses do you think you've invested in over the years?
I would say 25, in that range, 20 to 30.
Yeah. Did they all go as you planned them to go?
No, they never do. There's always problems, but I always say there's good problems and bad problems, right? We try to create the good problems where there's a lot of work that we can't keep up with and we have to hire new people to grow. But no, and then oftentimes serendipity takes place where you're after one thing and then another door opens, that if you weren't in that business doing the daily grind, that those opportunities wouldn't present themselves. So they never go as expected, but you've got to be quick on your feet and be willing to accept change.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, can you share with the audience maybe some of the biggest challenges or struggles you've seen over the years, going from a starting entrepreneur to someone who's invested so much time in so many businesses and so many people?
Sure. I think, look, one of the biggest challenges that I look back on has um, been the initial start, like getting started. I think a lot of people become a victim of their own success. They are in a successful position in corporate America, and they get the mortgage, they get the nice car, they put themselves in a position where it'd be very difficult for them to leave and let go of that. And they sacrifice that for their kind of freedom and happiness going forward. So I think that is initially the big struggle. And then the other struggle I see, particularly early on in the first year to 2 years of doing something on your own, is it's a lot harder than people think. And you always hear of the great stories, and you hear of the success stories, but you have to be willing to hold on longer than most people and fight through the days. I always tell our operators when we first get started, the only guarantee I can make you is that there will be days ahead of us that, this concept sounded a lot better now than it will on a handful of days. And your job is to get through those handful of days and create opportunities for yourself. So I just think that has been, having grit and tenacity and holding on when things get tough, because there's usually, in my experience, a light opens up and there are better days ahead.
Yeah. So would you say, I mean, it's the old saying that you have to put your head down and move forward. But at the same time, would you say that it's also important to maybe have other advisors and other people to share or ask questions from, people that have had the same experiences or even other experiences from you?
Yeah, I think you said it well. I would agree with that, that it has been helpful to me over the years to have people that have accomplished things that I wanted to accomplish in business and to lean in onto them and to be able to pick up a call or shoot an email or jump on a video call like this and say, here's a problem that I'm having. You've had to have similar problems in your life. You know, how did you get through them? If you were me in this situation, what would you do? Guidance like that is invaluable.
Yeah, just taking advantage of the experience of others. I know that's helped me in my career,
Yep.
for sure. So, besides people, finding out that it's harder than they actually thought, are there any other misconceptions that you think people have when they're starting a business?
Well, this might tie into that, but I think a lot of people think that it's very glamorous. I think that is a misconception, at least at first. You know, I had hair when I started thinking about doing this, and um, problems always arise. It's not as glamorous. You've got to be willing to wear 12 hats inside the business at first, and to figure things out. So I think that's a misconception, and I think social media has not helped that misconception. You know, you're always hearing stories of, you hear all the great stories, but once you get introduced to speak somewhere, they talk about all of your great accomplishments, but they didn't see what it took to be introduced that way. And so I think it's not as glamorous as people make it up to be.
I appreciate you sharing that insights. I would agree. So this next question, I ask this of everybody because this is something that hits home with me, and it has for many years. But how do you maintain some sort of work-life balance, if that is even something you've been able to achieve over the years?
Wow, that's a good question. That has been a constant struggle of mine, I would admit. I think what's helpful is when you're doing something, when you're working on something that seems like play, when there's no distinction between work or play, I think that makes a work-life balance equilibrium a lot easier to achieve. But I do say that something has to, in order to chase something big, you have to sacrifice some things. And for a long time, I had no work-life balance. I think success solves that for a lot of people. But to get to that point, something has to give. And it's either the opportunity that you're chasing or spending more time with friends, family, and loved ones. And so I think it's important to surround yourself with family members that are supportive and that are understanding, and that understand that, hey, this weekend I'm putting in some long hours. I might not be able to go to that family picnic or whatever you're going to. You do have to sacrifice. And I think I was told a long time ago that, you know, some short-term pain for a long-term gain is sometimes what you have to do.
Yeah. So it's incredibly important for a business owner, or really anybody out there in business, period, to have the right people around them.
Correct. Yeah, you have to have the right team. You have to think about what your blind spots are, what do you do at your best, and do that as much as you can. And whatever you're not great at, you need to surround yourself with people that are 100 times better at those things than you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, my wife of 20 years, she's been a great advocate for me as I've struggled with work-life balance over the years as well. I think we all try to attain it, I guess, to some level, whatever work-life balance works for us. So
True.
definitely having the right people. So you're of course very motivated and obviously very focused to be able to do what you do with as many organizations as you've worked with. How do you maintain that motivation and that focus for all these years?
Look, I think there was a quote I read a long time ago that the magic that you look for is in the work that you're avoiding, right? If you're willing to put in the work, um, part of this is creating the right habits. If you get up every morning and you're doing the same thing and you're doing the tough things first and you get those out of the way, I think that helps. That creates some motivation success breeds success, and momentum has to start somewhere. And once you create it, it tends to keep going in motion. And so I think that, doing the hard things, getting those done, having a sense of accomplishment at the end of every day, having certain things that you do. Like, I make the same list every day of things to do. Like, make sure that you're following the right habits. Here are the goals for the day. Here are the things that I need to do today to make today look successful. How do I get 1% better today? And then you look back at the end of the year and you've created your business has grown so much, and you've become a better person and a better business person, that because you focused every day, you made it matter.
Great. Thank you again for sharing that. Let's take it one step further, though. How do you continue to evolve and stay adaptable and open to change, once again, with everything that's going on?
Yeah, I think I've always been a very curious person. When we get into a business or we get into an opportunity, the level of curiosity I think people should have, to question everything, to say, how can we make this simpler, is one of my favorite questions. Or what do we do in this business that's dumb? Like, that's a great question to ask employees. They're the ones that know, and they will tell you where areas in the business that need improved. I also like this question: what could be our unfair advantage in this business? What can we lean into that no one else can do? What do we do better than anyone else? And I think that sparks innovation as well inside of a company. So being curious about where you're at, what you're going, what you're spending time on, just this sense of curiosity, I think, can open doors to new opportunities for innovation.
And is innovation and technology a big part of the industries that you've become a part of?
It's a good question. I'd say we are generalists, so to speak. So we invest in a lot of industries. I do believe that in our typical business that we look to invest in, they are underutilizing technology and processes and streamlines. Most of the cases, it's a founder business that has started 30 years ago with a ladder in their truck, and now they're doing very well, and they're doing the same things that got them from where they were to where they are now. But in order to grow from that point, you certainly have to lean into and leverage technology, people, and processes.
So it seems like to help those companies go from where they're already currently at, fairly successful companies, to take them to the next level, it's always an addition of some sort of technology.
Yeah, I think across the board, whether that is, implementing a new CRM system, an ERP system, an accounting system, leaning into technology we call it institutionalizing the business to make it, this business typically went from an infant stage to a teenager and a young adult, and to grow into adulthood, you have to do things like larger companies do.
Yeah, absolutely. So your business, SIER Capital Partners, where do you see your company? What does it look like in the next 12 to 36 months?
Wow, that's a good one. I would say more people need to know what we do and how we do it. I think we're one of the most flexible investment firms out there. I've been on the other side of the table. I've been a seller of a business before, and understanding that this is the monetization of their life's work. It's really important. So to be flexible around how we can structure a deal for them, depending on what they want the next chapter of their life to look at, I think we need to let more people know that we exist and that we are out there. So, and that there is another option to a traditional route, where we're not trying to fit everyone into one box. We're willing to work with someone to accomplish what they want their retirement or what they want their next chapter to look like. And I think that level of flexibility isn't that common in the private equity space. And so, just letting people know that we're out there and scale the experiences we've been able to provide for other sellers.
Right. What challenges do you see standing in your way of getting to that part in your business?
It's probably a mental block, and it's also we have an unbelievable team. We are very close and we're very tight knit. We're like a family. Like they would be in my wedding if I got married today. And so um, we would probably need to add some more people that would fit the kind of dedication and discipline that we all have in the business. Um, and I think to some degree, just like every business, I think we get comfortable in our success and in the way business is going. Why not change? And that's probably the time when you probably need to think about change the most, is when you're experiencing a lot of success. So to keep reinventing yourself. And so I would say the biggest holdback is just everyone getting on the same page and deciding what we need and how we want to scale it.
Now, listen, I appreciate you sharing different challenges and different struggles that you had and potentially might have going forward. That certainly helps our audience out. So, final question for you: what advice would you offer to someone who's thinking about starting a business for the first time, or maybe even someone who's recently started a business but they're struggling?
Yeah, I would say a couple things, Joe. First off, I can't emphasize this enough. You're going to struggle. It's going to be a given. There's going to be challenges, but you can never surrender. I think an important thought to have in the back of your head is if who loses if I don't win? And that takes the thought outside of you and puts it on people that are depending on you, whether it's employees, your own family, you know, charities that you could donate to. There's so many people that could lose if you don't win. So you keep that in mind and you just never give up. I think people give up too soon. And you from my experiences, if you can just hold on for another day, another week, another month, another quarter, push through, keep doing the things that matter, brighter days will come. And to that end, the second piece I would give is I think people need to be more on, if you're struggling, I would take a week, I would block out a week on my schedule. Before I did that, I'd make a list of 100 people that I think could help my business. And I would call 20 of them a day for the next 5 days. That's all I would do, is try to get a hold of those people and tell them the situation I'm in, ask them what they would do if they were me. And I think you would be amazed. Or calling 20 prospects a day that could change the dynamics of your entire business. And you, as the business owner and the founder, making those calls, giving those pitches, I think if you spend a week doing that, you could change the dynamics of your business in that time frame.
That is great advice to live by. Kevin, listen, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day, especially with how busy you are, to spend it here with myself and the audience. Before we go, if anybody wants to reach out to you and discuss SIER Capital Partners, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would say on our website at SIERcapital.com, SIER capital.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us.
Okay, great. Well, listen, once again, I really appreciate you taking time. It was great to talk to you in this format again. And to everybody out there listening, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Mastering the Numbers.